centuries, man has surrounded himself with animals closely related to him. Man has domesticated some animals to perform tasks to ease his labor, to provide enjoyment and relaxation. Looking at animals more distantly related to man, a line is sharply drawn. It is a barrier beyond which human affection rarely extends. This includes the world of reptiles. The reptiles are vertebrates like man, but they belong to a group of differently developed animals. Countless forms of life have died out, but the reptiles survived, and in their appearance, there is something that suggests a more distant epoch in the Earth's history. As life emerged on the planet, primitive plants moved from the seas and took root on land. They covered the earth at water's edge, while other life forms remained in the seas, undergoing the inexorable changes of evolution. Most amphibians came out of the water with a characteristic that would forever limit their movements. They could not survive very far from water. But from the amphibian came the reptile that would reproduce on land and spread across the earth. Countless centuries later, on virtually every continent, man would find the awesome traces of their progeny. In Earth's history, few spectacles can match the era when reptiles reached their zenith. For over 100 million years, the greatest of them all, the dinosaurs, roamed the earth. In mist-enshrouded swamps and forests, filled with lush vegetation, 100 different kinds of giants fed. The world of the Mesozoic era, over 135 million years ago. Among them, Stegosaurus, with the ability to govern his actions and behavior, and an enlarged bundle of nerves in the pelvis to help coordinate the movements of his massive hindquarters. Over 20 feet long, his body was a living fortress, burdened by the weight of bizarre protective armament. Through countless centuries, new sizes and shapes evolved and disappeared. Triceratops showed a refinement in his armored skull. But despite a fearsome appearance, he was a vegetarian, and his kind were prey to a newly emerging form of predator. Tyrannosaurus rex, the largest and most powerful flesh eater ever to roam our planet, ironically heralded the beginning of the end. With powerful hind limbs and teeth half a foot long, he preyed on the numerous plant eaters. Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, the roll call of the doomed. They all passed into oblivion, and we scarcely have a clue why. No single theory can explain the reasons for their disappearance. for we are left with only scant traces of their existence. Crocodiles and alligators have come relatively unchanged from the era of the dinosaur. The swamps in which they survive are little different from the primeval world of their ancestors. Like all reptiles that remain, they have found a special place in which to flourish. A second group, the turtles and tortoises, have also survived to the present with only minor alterations. A newer form has become the most numerous of the reptiles. They are the highly evolved lizards. From lizards came the most radical product of recent reptile evolution, the snakes, and they have been the most successful of them all. These creatures have left their indelible sign on human history. Scorched by the sun, whipped by the wind, the desert only grudgingly sustains life. Without forage or water, most warm-blooded animals die quickly. So the desert has become a province of the reptile. Environment largely controls their body temperature. The heat of the sun warms their blood, impelling them to action. As the heat rises, night predators disappear. Most mammals seek shelter, and reptiles emerge to feed on desert flowers and small insects. To keep its temperature constant, the snake moves into the sun to heat up and retreats into the shade when it is too hot. The most toxic of all poisonous snakes thrives in the warm waters of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Under normal conditions, divers, swimmers, and fishermen need not fear the sea snake, but little is known of their behavior. A research team led by naturalist and diver Ben Kropp hunts specimens off Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Though it must return to the surface for air, the sea snake lives, hunts, and in most cases, gives birth to its young in the ocean. At times, sea snakes gather in large groups, and their behavior changes. Normally shy and fearful of man, during the mating season, the sea snake turns aggressive, and they will threaten creatures many times their own size. Once a creature of the land, the sea snake adapted remarkably to the environment of the ocean. Their paddle-like tails are useless out of the water, and they are barely able to crawl. Definite rules govern the lives of all reptiles. The small, slow-moving Jackson's chameleon stakes out a territory in which he will feed and mate. He defends it against the inroads of other male chameleons. The female chameleon never takes part in the ritual combat of the males. A code of battle exists. The defender and intruder test each other's strength until one is pushed into submission. Though the opportunity to bite presents itself, it is generally not done. The highly stylized tournament ends when one of the chameleons has proven himself stronger. The weaker turns tail, and the victor assumes his place in the bush or branch. In order to stalk their food, slow-moving chameleons are camouflaged to match their surroundings. A highly disciplined hunter, he waits motionless, scanning the leaves around him in a wide arc, each eye moving independently of the other. Their tongues are sticky projectiles fired at their prey by a sudden contraction of muscles. The distance covered is often as great as the entire length of the chameleon itself. Many reptiles spend their entire lives in the top of trees. The vine snake of Southeast Asia, beautifully camouflaged, fast-moving. He hunts a tree-dwelling lizard called Draco volans. The lizard's extremely sharp eyes watch for the slightest movement. In an attempt to frighten the snake, Draco volans stages a threat display. It is both a gesture of defiance and the preparation of a unique defense. As the snake strikes, Draco volans, the flying dragon, leaps from the tree, spreads his ribs, and glides to safety. Turtles are the oldest of existing reptiles. They were on hand when the age of reptiles dawned back in the beginning of the Mesozoic era. They survived when hundreds of thousands of animal lines were not able to do so, in part because of their shells, an innovation perhaps largely responsible for the fact that they survived 200 million years or more when others disappeared completely. The cumbersome turtle has evolved bizarre mechanisms for capturing food. The lumbering alligator snapping turtle hunts in the rivers and lakes of the southeastern United States. Unable to swim after fish, its main food source, the turtle lies quietly in the water resembling a log and opens its mouth. It exposes a fleshy appendage resembling a worm and lures the fish to the turtle. The mata mata possesses an equally sophisticated hunting device. As fish pass close by, its throat suddenly expands, creating a powerful suction. Once he's caught his prey, he exhales to disperse the debris drawn in along with the fish. The tortoise hunts no other creature. Instead, he prowls in patient search for leaves and plants and grass. Only once in every year does the tortoise's nature change. Spring is a time of challenge among male tortoises. It begins with a gesture of defiance, a ritual bobbing of heads, and then the charge. Whether for territory or possession of the female, the males will fight until one withdraws or is turned on his back. Now the vanquished must fight for his life. The great protective shell in which he lives becomes a trap. Exposed to the sun, within an hour the heat will build up inside his body until it kills him. Yet he struggles, as is the nature of all living creatures. Throughout their existence, they have clung tenaciously to the smallest spark of life. So it is that in strange ways, the reptiles have created a place for themselves. Remote East Indian islands have often been the fiction writer's favorite setting for the discovery of great monsters. In the lesser Sunda Islands, there is such an island setting. It is called Komodo. The dragon of Komodo, to the natives, Waja Darat, the crocodile who walks on land. In fact, it is a gargantuan monitor lizard, 10 feet long, weighing twice as much as the largest monitor found anywhere else in the world. Man brought the dog to Komodo long after the dragon had established his superiority as the scavenger and occasional predator. The master of the islands for thousands of years, he remains so today. The hunter, whether he be dragon or cat, eagle or shark, helps maintain the animal population at a level where there is food enough for all. It is the isolated reptiles like the Komodo which have created the bizarre legends that have shaped man's view of the reptile world. Out of the dim reaches of Earth's past they came, alien creatures to the eye of man. They exist and flourish out of view, often in lonely, forgotten places, and there they will stay. For nearly 100 million years, reptiles were the dominant form of animal life. While today their importance is diminished, there is much we can learn from them about the development of human life on Earth.